Hello, good morning, and welcome to Homemade. Today we are working with Dorot Gardens. Very excited to share with you a recipe from them. My name is Krista. I'm working today with Chef Samantha. She's going to be leading our chat.
Hello, I'm super excited to be here.
Great. So today's class, we are really focusing on adding in all these delicious and delightful herbs. And we're going to do that with some Dorot cubes. So these are just fabulous the trick to keep up your sleeve for a great addition to any of your recipes. They're really simple to use. I'm going to show you how we do that. The other thing I'm excited about in this recipe is that we are making a lasagna, which is usually one of these sort of long and labor-intensive things, and it's going to be a little bit longer, but we're going to be adding in so much in terms of a sauce that maybe you're not used to putting in there, so a Béchamel sauce. This is a white, creamy, delicious sauce that we are going to pile in with herbs. So I'm gonna get started on that. We're also gonna make a pesto vinaigrette with those same herb cubes, and we're gonna toss that with a really delicious spring salad. So first things first, ahead of time, before we started, I did a couple of things. So I took some frozen spinach and thawed that and drained it. So that's gonna be one of our layers. Then I also sort of par-cooked our noodles. So our lasagna noodles are mostly cooked. Our recipe says to go ahead and cook them and then plunge them in an ice bath, and you can definitely do that. One shortcut tip that I love is to keep them in just really hot water for about 30 minutes, and then they become really nice and pliable, but they're not fully cooked, and we finish cooking them in that sauce, so it absorbs a lot of that flavor. So I really want to introduce you to this. We had that done ahead and that done ahead, and we're going to get right into it with this Béchamel sauce. So a Béchamel sauce is beautiful white sauce that is a base of butter, and then we add in flour and milk. We're gonna add in, listen to that. That doesn't get you going, right? And then we're gonna add in a mirepoix, which is just a fancy way of saying celery, onions, and carrots. And then we add in a milk. And so if you have questions about Béchamel, put them in the chat. I think this is a great sauce to have in your toolkit because you can build all kinds of things with this lovely white cheese sauce. Today we're making a vegetable and herb lasagna. You could also make a very traditional lasagna where this Béchamel sauce layers in with a bolognese sauce, and that's very traditional. Lasagna can be anything you want it to be. All over Italy, families have different versions of their lasagna. So I've seen a lot of people sort of break out into fisticuffs over what is the proper lasagna, but make it your own.
I love using a lasagna like this to just use up all the greens in my house.
Yes.
Especially the ones that aren't like at their best, the carrot tops and the spinach that's not doing great.
Exactly.
And, everything can kind of get chopped up, incorporated. It's so great.
And you'll notice that I diced all of these carrots and onions pretty small. I love this. I think it's gonna look like confetti in our lasagna. But this is not gonna be a red sauce lasagna. This is gonna be a creamy a creamy bechamel with just lots of cheese. So much cheese, friends.
Yeah, and for folks that haven't used a bechamel in their lasagna before, I love doing that instead of feel like in Italian American lasagna recipes, often you use ricotta or even cottage cheese. Sometimes I find that gets kind of grainy and just a little heavy, and I think the bechamel is just really lovely.
Yes.
Never gets grainy.
Agreed. The other things that I like to use a bechamel for are the base for a mac and cheese or for a baked pasta, just bathed in this creamy, cheesy goodness. It's really, really lovely to use. If you have other favorite uses, put them in the chat with us. We love to hear what you're cooking and what made you come to this recipe today.
Oh yeah, I love a Mornay
Yes.
over like a, what is it called, like croque monsieur or something? The the ham and cheese that you put the
The
sauce
fanciest
over.
grilled cheese you could ever have.
So good.
Yeah. All right, so I'm letting that simmer a little bit. We're going to saute these for about 5 minutes, and we're just softening. We're not trying to get any browning going on here. I'm going to add a little salt as we go. And then I'm going to get the star of the show. I'm going to get the star of the show out of the freezer. So these are freezer friends: basil, garlic, parsley. Let's see. All right, I hope I got enough. Look at how fun these are. So these are wonderful because they are flash frozen. So they take those herbs straight from the field, and each little pocket here is already pre-measured out for you. So we have a teaspoon per pocket and a clove of garlic per pocket. So the trick here is, as we get going, they stay in the freezer, they live there, they are so easy to use. We're going.
Oh yeah, I'm just yeah, it looks great. Somebody was asking about if the bechamel is the same as a roux, and
So-
just curious about how that all fits together.
Yeah, so we make a roux within our bechamel. So a roux is the combination of flour and butter, and we're going to toast that. If you can scroll down just a smidge there for me, so I can make sure I put enough of these delightful cubes in here. We're softening those, and then we're going to put these cubes in, and then we're going to put in about a 1/4 cup of flour, and that's the roux. So in another class, I tried to make up a funny, and maybe it was with you, Samantha, about like a Dr. Seuss version of I can roux, can you? Because a roux is that starch which comes from the flour, which helps it get that creamy consistency. We're not making anything with cream here, but we're going to give it a creamy consistency. Do you remember that? Was that with you that I did that?
I don't
Dr.
think that was
Seuss-
with me, but I like it.
Dr. Seuss rhyme. So once you know how to make a roux, it is a great tool to have. You can use a roux to make gravy, right, with stock. But we're going to make ours with these amazing cubes. All right, so now I can see that I'm going to use 4 garlic cubes from the garden, and we're going to use 6 basil and 6 parsley. So I'm going to show you how easy this is. You just peel off this top layer here, and our little teaspoons are ready to go, and you just pop it through. So, wow, these are excited to get in the pot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom, and I'm done, right? So those are our 6 parsley. Just put that back over the top. They came shooting right out, so easy. You drop it, pop it, and you're done. So we have our parsley, and we're going to do garlic as well.
I feel like that's just so satisfying.
It's
to
very
watch.
satisfying, friends. And basil. So, okay, so this just saved me so much time in the mincing department. I have lots of mincing tricks up my sleeves, but I love using these. I definitely keep the garlic one, the ginger one in my freezer. You can find these. Look at that. And then these little teaspoons of herbs are all melting in here. It's going to start to smell amazing. You can find these little packs in the freezer section with the vegetables. So you can see that it's going to start melting pretty quickly and disperse. And since I'm done with them for now, I'm going to put them back in the freezer. Hot tip is to keep them cold. They really work best when they are frozen. Otherwise, you're just wrestling with those cute little dollops. Okay, so I'm gonna give those a second. Put these back in the freezer, and then we will get to our roux. These will come out. These will come out again for our salad dressing. Beautiful. All right, so I had about 6 tablespoons of butter in here melting. This looks like it has dispersed nicely. And then I like to make a little well in the center and let some of the butter run back into the center. You can definitely do this separately, but we like this because we're gonna infuse that roux right away with all of those herbs. Okay, so from there, we let our butter come back into the center, and you want this on about medium heat. We don't wanna burn anything, and I'm gonna add in a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. All right, and what we're doing here is toasting this. Now, someone is wondering if they should type it in the chat. I'm going to answer your question. Before you even type it, yes, you can use a gluten-free flour for this. You can use a 1-to-1 mix, and it will work out just fine. What we're doing here is we're coating that starch with the butter, so any kind of replacement flour needs to have some starch in it, right? If you're going to do this gluten-free. It does work, and I encourage you to put this in your toolkit. All right, so now I'm gonna incorporate this all back in, and then ever so slowly, we're going to add in our milk. How are we doing? Anyone have questions?
Oh, we were just talking about where to find them, how long they last in the freezer, all those good things.
Super.
And, I was sharing that, it's not going to things don't really get unsafe in the freezer. They just eventually will lose some of that flavor, or maybe texture will go off, but many months this stuff can hang out.
And you will find yourself reaching for these so much more frequently than you think, because it's so easy. Of course, I love a good old roast head of garlic, but if I just need a clove or two to go into something, pop a couple of cubes, and I'm done. And I'm not mashing garlic.
And I saw somebody says they've used the sautéed glazed onion, so kind of like caramelized onion flavor. That sort of thing takes forever on the stove. Yes.
They have lots more different applications than what we have here today. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning, folks. There's caramelized onion, there's cilantro, I think there's turmeric. I mean, let's go to town with this. Okay, so now it's hard to see because of so much green in here, but we have toasted our flour just a little bit. You can start to see it forming on the bottom of the pan, so we know we've cooked the flour a little bit. And now we're gonna start adding in the milk. And this is where, friends, just have faith in the process, okay? Because it's gonna look pretty funky at first. So I have 2 cups of whole milk, and I'm going to put that in, and it's going to start to combine with the flour, and that's what's gonna give us our sauce. And you wanna do this gradually. So it's gonna look really strange and pasty first. Persevere, friends, persevere. Good things come to those who wait in the kitchen, including herby lasagnas. Yeah, so you see it's cooked there. And I'm adding just about a couple tablespoons at a time. And what we're doing here is we're getting all of that flour and milk together. We also have about a cup of broth to play with as well. So once you kind of start seeing a uniform there we go. Fear not, this doesn't look like you want it to look just yet.
And so for this, the way you keep it from being lumpy is with trying to make sure this portion of it you're really evenly incorporating.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Julia would have said that your milk needs to be hot or add it in at room temperature. And I believe in the room temperature part. I'll show you the other part. If you're making this with, if you're making this without all of the mirepoix, all the veggies in there, then you would be whisking to avoid any lumps. But this is what happens when we have a whisk. So I'm okay with just the spoon, and if we need to, a whisk. I mean, of course, do it Julia's way if you've had trouble. But look, we're almost there to a creamy, spreadable sauce.
And so, for all of us that are not experts like you, what exactly is happening here? Is it's something about the starch, or what is happening here in this roux?
Yep, so we've cooked the starch with the butter and coated those starch molecules in the fat, and now we're dispersing that through our milk, which is another level of fat, but it's liquidy. And then this is looking lovely. And then it's gonna cook, right? So you're continuing the cooking process. And then we're gonna add in, because we're going to use this in our layers, we're going to add in about a cup and a half of chicken broth, or vegetable broth if you wanna do vegetarian. Because I want it to be a creamy, creamy consistency. All those herbs are looking beautiful in there. And we're gonna bring this up to a little bit of a simmer while we get our, I wanna have enough to go as a bottom layer on the pan, and then each layer, and then a layer on top. So this is gonna be divided about 4 ways. And you don't have to use all of the chicken broth, but I want it pretty pourable. And this also is, how much did you cook your noodles? Because they're gonna absorb this broth to finish cooking. Right? Okay, that looks just about right to me. So this is where, if you were gonna then take this and turn it into a mac and cheese, you would add in a bunch of cheese here, and then you would put your cooked noodles right in there. We're going to add just about a 1/4 cup generously of Parmesan here. And this is where also you're going to get the salt from in the recipe. So I like to make sure that we are tasting all the way along. So that was the last bit we put in this section, right? And I'm going to give it a taste, make sure it doesn't need more salt, but it's going to get some salt from the cheese. Delicious. Now, very traditional, and I'm not sure if this is in your recipe, but a very traditional bechamel will always have a little bit of nutmeg grated in there. Nutmeg is just one of those flavors that plays well with others. So I'm using my microplane, my favorite kitchen tool, and I'm just putting a little nutmeg in there. It's just, like, if you think about creamed spinach of the olden days of steakhouses, they served a creamy spinach with nutmeg on it. And so we're just giving a nod to that. I'm gonna let that go for a minute while we get our things ready to assemble here. So, like I said before, this is frozen spinach. This is another great, let's just have this in the freezer, but you want to really wring it out. So you can see that I have quite a bit of liquid in there, and I've already squeezed it once. So definitely wring it out. And then one thing I like to do as we're wringing it out is I kind of divvy it up into thirds, because that's what we're going to be using. It's like a little bit of a third per layer. Oh yeah, still quite juicy. There we go. So then I kind of have a visual of how much I'm going to use in each layer. Okay. Now, if you're feeling confident in the kitchen, you can go ahead and pour straight from your pan, but I want you to see this texture here, that this is nice and creamy. And so we're going to ladle. I'm not going to pour straight from the pan, but we're going to ladle it. Always have a bottom layer to put our noodles on, and like that. All right, we're ready to assemble. I mean, this is the kind of recipe where you do this with family and you're all hanging out in the kitchen together and everyone's got a job. Someone's grating cheese, someone's in charge of the noodles, right?
And this is also the kind of recipe that you can, when you're making it for dinner, you could make 2, stick one in the freezer, and then you've got another day where you don't have to do this, and it's great.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so for this part of the process, we're going to go noodle and then spinach, so a third of the spinach, and sprinkle that on top of the noodles that are sitting in their bechamel. And this is not perfection here. This is just as good as it gets across here. I'm going to do a third. So I also like to make sure that that bottom layer is, the bottom and the middle layer are hefty. Like the bottom is the hefty layer. Okay, so we do the noodles, and then we have our Parmesan, a little bit of Parm, and provolone. So this is this is like a 3 cheese, this is a multiple cheese recipe. And we put that all through there, and then about 3 or 4 pieces of provolone, just from the store already, across here, and then we're gonna keep building. That was only 1 piece. And you can use any kind of cheese, fontina, smoked something or other would be so good in here. And just building our layers.
I feel like you could even do some sort of like goat cheese or something if you're wanting to go a little tangier. Incorporate some mushrooms into here too.
Oh yeah. We were saying earlier that, a vegetable lasagna can really be anything you want to throw at it. Okay? That's it for that layer, and then we're going to do the provolone slices, and then we're going to do the next layer of noodles. I also, this time didn't have, but usually I have a couple of spare noodles to just break up into pieces if you want to. So we're going to do our lovely bechamel layer. It's bright green, so springy. And then we'll do the spinach again. I have plenty of bechamel here. This would be a really great, a great dish to bring to someone, right? Because it's vegetables. And then we do have that richness, so that's why we're going to make this beautiful salad alongside of it. A little spicy arugula salad is what we're going to bring to this table next. All right, and then some more cheese. You'll see I have some mozzarella over on the side, but I'm saving that for the top. Okay, and cheese is also sort of holding this together. You'll see. Now you can just do big slices if you like, but then I think this guy gets cheated, so. What else do we have in the chat here?
Oh, talking about, the different kinds of cheese. What is more salty than others?
Oh, good, yeah. Definitely taste your sauce for salt and then take into consideration take into consideration all of the ingredients that you're adding.
Yeah.
This is our last layer. We're gonna go so big on all of this. I also recommend that you give yourself plenty of time to cook this. Maybe this is a weekend project, because I think that your lasagna gets better once, and it's gonna kind of come together once it's cooked and cooled just a little bit. So take that into consideration in your planning.
Just got a hot tip from Denise. She shared that if you alternate between horizontal and vertical in the positioning of your lasagna noodles, you get a more stable layering of the lasagna, which is genius to me.
Is she an architect? She must be an architect.
I know, pretty cool.
Yeah, I usually do that. And like I said, I like to break up the noodles. That's another fun thing you could do with this. Anybody made just like a skillet lasagna where you take the broken noodles that are in the bottom of the box and you just put them into a skillet with all the same filling ingredients, kind of mash them up and cook it in the skillet and then just finish it off in the broiler. Such a good, easy dinner.
I've also seen kind of a similar thing, like a lasagna soup that kind of turns the tomatoey sauce into more of a soup, thinness.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I think that would be pretty fun too. I've never made it, but it sounds good.
That would be delightful. All right, so now we're gonna finish off the top here. And what I wanna say is, you really do want this as you're holding it all together. The cheese and the sauce, they're gonna interact together and help bring everything together in the oven. So don't be shy. It is hard to eyeball, like, am I gonna have enough for the top layer? So I would rather have a little bit left over. If you have a little left over, throw that into some scrambled eggs.
Ooh, yum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Recipe like this, great for, you could really, this has spinach, but you could really pack some vegetables into this and still have it be super delicious.
Yes, for sure. All right, so that's going in the oven. Our oven is at 375, and we're doing mozzarella across the top. It's gonna get nice and bubbly. So this needs to be covered. I love cheese, so I'm just going for it, friends. I don't know what the recipe says. More cheese, more better. So that's gonna go in, and we're going to be able to cook that covered. If you want to avoid the sticking, you can do a little bit of a little cooking spray on your aluminum foil. I think we're deep enough here that we're not gonna need to do that. So we're putting that covered for 30 minutes at 375. And while that's cooking, I'm gonna make this sweet little salad. Okay? Here we go. All right. So for our salad, I'm just gonna use some beautiful arugula for that spring. When you have something that's so creamy like that, it's really good for your digestion to have a little bit more bitter in your same meal. So we're gonna have this semi-bitter salad with a really lovely herb vinaigrette. So into our salad, it's going to go, we're gonna use some Dijon mustard. This is freshly squeezed lemon juice. And then we're using some basil, parsley, and garlic again. So let me get those from the freezer, just in case you didn't think I had that much fun with them the first time. Sure did. So garlic, usually I measure with your heart, but we're gonna measure using the recipe. So you just pop it out and then put this right back over the top so that it's stored, okay? So this kind of sticks back to the top. How many basil are we looking at here?
Oh, 2 basil, looks delicious.
2 basil, sounds delightful. 3rd for good measure. And parsley. Also 2? 1 parsley.
1.
Yeah, because we're leaning into the pesto here. And so we're gonna whir that up with some Dijon mustard into our little food processor here. You, of course, could do this by hand. Whoop. And 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I'm gonna give this a whir first, and then we'll add our olive oil. Okay, watch your ears, friends. So we're gonna give this awesome. Look at those herbs in there. So that blends super fast. And now we're gonna add, and we're just gonna drizzle in. This is how we make a lovely emulsion. We're gonna drizzle in our olive oil. So about a half cup. I'm more excited about the olive oil than our mixer is. Here we go. So this nice balance of an acid and all of those herbs, and then this lovely olive oil is what we're gonna go for here. Salt it, and pepper, maybe a little more salt. And then, if you wanted to, you could put the cheese right in here so that it's like really like a pesto. I'm gonna put the cheese over the top of the salad. And we're gonna give this, let's look at our consistency here. Yeah, this is a lovely, we're gonna give this a little bit more olive oil. Beautiful. All right, and keeping with our spring salad-ness, we have just this beautiful green pesto vinaigrette, some arugula. I have some sugar snap peas. We're gonna toss those in there. And that I just cut those on the bias. Those are gonna be a little bit sweet. And then radishes, this just screams springtime to me because they grow so fast. They have a little bit of pepper to them and a little bit of cheese to give ourselves that pesto-ish and a little bit more salt. And then this, I would store this dressing in the fridge for 5 days. You can keep this dressing in the fridge for 5 days. I'm just gonna dress a little bit of this salad, and then with TV magic, I'm going to show you our finished lasagna, like a little time warp that we've just gone through. So a little toss of this to get everybody dressed. Everybody dressed in pesto vinaigrette from our lovely friends at Dorot. Okay, so maybe a little bit more. All right, so that's gonna be our lovely salad. And then I'm going to show you our finished lasagna. So 30 minutes, and then about 15 with the foil taken off. You'll get a golden brown beauty. This was baked earlier. Questions? I like a really beautiful golden brown. You can do lighter than this. Questions at all before we depart?
People seem to be just excited about cooking this for dinner.
Yes. I know, part of dinner cooking is just figuring out what to cook, so making this easy and quick for you, being able to use our cubes that you just pop, drop, and done. I mean, so this green goddess of a lasagna is ready. And a little bit of salad to keep us going on the side. Come here, you beautiful radishes. So here is our finished plate. I am so excited. Samantha, I will cut you a slice in a second.
So excited to have a slice.
Tell you how delicious this is. If I have a fork, nope, I have a spoon. Spoon and lasagna, why not? All right, so look at that gorgeous green layers of spinach and all that herby bechamel in there. This is just springtime on a plate, my friends. Our cheese across the top has caramelized, lovely. And we're gonna take a bite of this herby lasagna goodness.
Yum. We're so excited to, see people on Thursday, April 10th at 11 for our next Dorot class. Veal piccata with garlicky green beans should be delicious.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Please join us again for our classes. You can find them all on demand. Enjoy using something new for spring and adding in herbs to anything. It's a really delightful thing to be able to do. pop, drop, and be done. Hope your kitchen is your happy place, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Thanks so much.